amazing family, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of Amazing Grace with Bosse. If this is your first time stopping by, welcome on board. My name is Bosse Ojubo. Please like and subscribe to my channel and click on the notification button and make sure to leave a comment. The Ika-speaking people of Delta State have a saying, Onyeme kehia omo. And one illiterate man wanted to translate it to English language. And he said it means, who do he, do he. My Edo Delta people will translate that in Pidgin English to mean adumadu body. And in English language, it means you want to hurt somebody or someone, but you end up hurting yourself. That is the case of Dr. Femi Frank Olaleye, the 57-year-old popular philanthropist, celebrity medical doctor who was recently sentenced to 2 life imprisonment to run concurrently on 2 counts of defilement and sexual assault by penetration of a minor. Now, the medical director had been sleeping with his wife's 15-year-old niece, who called him Daddy. This is a man who was respected and well known in society. He had a foundation on cancer screening and got awards and accolades for his charity. Meanwhile, nobody knew that he was a pedophile and rapist. And guess what? He was also sleeping with his patients. I'm sure now you understand the saying that not all that glitters is gold. This is a man who narrowly escaped going to jail in London for the same sexual offense. That did not teach him a lesson. He came back to Nigeria. God, in his infinite mercy, blessed him and prospered him. And so he thought he was invisible. When the story broke that Dr. Femi Olaleye was sleeping with his wife's 15-year-old niece, instead of him to show remorse, he behaved like the typical narcissist. He started bullying his wife, went to town to gaslight and vilify her, claiming that she's wicked to her niece and has a personal vendetta against him, and says she wants to ruin his life. His mother and family members joined him to demonize and insult his wife, threatening her for reporting the matter to the police. Well, this is to be expected anyway. I'm sure he's the breadwinner, and so they have to do whatever he tells them. In our society, when you stand up for justice and say enough of nonsense, people will turn against you and call you all sorts of names. It doesn't matter the sacrifices you have made for that family or how good you have been to them. They don't care. Dr. Femi Olaleye tried so hard to slander and discredit his wife to cover up his crime. But his plans failed woefully and backfired on him. That is the case of Onyeme kehia omo when you want to hurt somebody, but you end up hurting yourself. According to the wife, she met him when he was living in one room in a place called Mafoluku in Lagos. He was just a regular medical doctor. He wasn't rich, and they have grown together. And according to her, they were supposedly living fine. as husband and wife up to when she found out that he was sleeping with her niece. I really thank God that the wife refused to be bullied by him or his family members. According to her, she owed it to her young niece to get justice, and nothing was going to deter her. I am in awe of this woman. She is my guide. She must be celebrated. Her uncommon courage for reporting the case is not normal in our clime. It's not easy to speak up against a family member, not to talk of a husband. That is why we have many women suffering in silence because of outdated culture. They are too ashamed and too embarrassed to call out their husbands for molesting their daughters, their relatives, and housemates. But Remi Oladeye has taken the lead. She has defied all odds to speak out and expose her husband for molesting her niece. We live in a society that tells you not to wash your dirty linen in public. A society that encourages a culture of silence, that tells you, shh, don't say it out. It will ruin your marriage. It will ruin your family name. And so women keep quiet and stand by evil men, and we allow them get away with rape and sexual assault of minors under their care. The time of ignorance has passed. Long time ago, that time has passed. If your husband or your loved one is a pedophile or a rapist, it's not your fault. It's not your shame. It's just unfortunate that you entered one chance and married a man who lacks discipline and control. These are the facts, as reported by Dr. Femi Olalaye's wife. They were married for 12 years with 2 children. They had 16 cameras in their home. But when they were installing the cameras, the husband, Dr. Femi, specifically told her not to put cameras in his study and also in the waiting room. And of course, he's the head of the family. She listened, not knowing that he had ulterior motives to use the study for molesting her niece. According to her, her niece, who is normally a very respectful child, started becoming rude and hissing at her. And that is to be expected when a husband is sleeping with a small girl who calls him daddy or uncle, as the case may be, under his roof. In no time, the girl will start to disrespect madame. After all, she and madame are sharing the same man. So on one occasion, when she misbehaved, she beat the girl. When the husband came back, her children were the first to report to their daddy. You know how children behave. And told their daddy that the girl was rude to their mommy, and so mommy beat her. The normal response as daddy of the house is to ask his wife, my dear, what happened? The children said you beat so and so. But instead, he went to the CCTV camera and took the footage where she was beating her niece and sent it to their family friend, and then went on to meet the girl to beg her and told the children to also beg her while abusing his wife and calling her names. His actions, according to her, did not make sense. So she asked him, my dear, Kilode, do you have anything to do with this girl? Because your reaction is off. And then Dr. Femi according to his wife, arrogantly said, and so what? Yes, I slept with her. What can you do? Whoa. That was a shocker to her. To cut the story short, the girl, in the presence of other family members, gave the gory details of how Dr. Femi had been sleeping with her and all the horrible things he made her do. It was too much for his wife to bear, and so she went to the police station in Lagos to complain, and he confessed to his crime to the divisional police officer and to many other people. That was the beginning of the investigation. The matter became public, and then his first wife reached out to Remi Olaleye, his wife. Apparently, Dr. Femi was first married and divorced in London, and he had 2 children who are now 27 and 21 years old. The children, by the way, we are told, have changed their surnames because of the disgrace he brought upon them while he was in London. Well, according to the first wife, he did the same thing when she was married to him. He was sleeping with her niece to the extent that her niece started sleeping with a knife under her pillow. I guess the first wife was so ashamed to pursue the case with the police in London, hence he did not go to jail in London for that crime. The first wife also told her that when Dr. Femi was practicing in London, he was also sleeping with his patients without their consent and had to pay a lot of money in pounds sterling for the patient to testify that the sex was consensual. Hence, he was not persecuted, but the hospital management dismissed him. Mrs. Olaleye also said that she saw gory videos where Dr. Femi Olaleye recorded himself having sex with his patients in the hospital while they were under medication. The case finally went to court, and during the trial, Mrs. Remi Olaleye testified against her husband. She told the court that her husband had carnal knowledge with her niece for 18 months between March 2020 till July 2021 without her knowledge. She said there were nights when her husband gave her medication, and she suspects that perhaps he was giving her something that made her sleep throughout the night so that he can sleep with her niece. Can you imagine sedating your wife to sleep with her niece? Hey, this man is evil. Well, after listening to both sides, the judge, Justice Rahim Oshodi, found him guilty and sentenced him to life imprisonment. Justice was served. He tried to use money and connection. Everything failed. It is good to know that there are still righteous and incorruptible judges in Nigeria. There's hope for Nigeria. I see a better Nigeria. I hope this uncommon bravery by Dr. Femi's wife will encourage women who are dealing with this kind of problem and suffering in silence to speak up. And for those of you who are still molesting young children and raping innocent women, your day of reckoning will come sooner than later. There are many takeaways from this story. We will look at it in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.